Welcome everyone to another episode of Top Rope Talk. This is the sniper himself, Denzel Snipes, and I'm with the sports agent himself, Sean Russey. Just want to let everybody know to follow us on all of our socials. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X as well as Sideline Sports. Also, the new site is up, so please go and check us out on our new website. That is sideline-se.com. You can meet the crew, take a look at some of our latest shows, as well as read some of our great articles from the staff at Sideline Sports Network. Well, before we get started, Sean, how you doing tonight, man?
Everything's going good, boss. How are you?
Doing good, doing pretty good. So it looks like we've got a bit of a doozy coming up this day, as this is the WWE Elimination Chamber Chicago preview. So getting started here, someone who made their return not too long ago, and now they're getting a shot at the singles championship, as Becky Lynch has formed quite the rivalry with AJ Lee. And now there's a women's intercontinental title match that is set to happen this Saturday. Can AJ Lee win her first title in over a decade? Sean, what do you got?
I would like to think that they're going to put her over here, especially with it being in Chicago. But I could see them doing some kind of smeared ending to push the payoff till WrestleMania. Either way, I think you're getting this match again at Mania, which is why I think there may not be a payoff at Elimination Chamber.
Same here. I think that there's going to be a rematch. I think Becky actually is going to come out on top on this one. You figure it's kind of old at this point. But she'll lose to AJ Lee at WrestleMania. So I've got Becky Lee retaining here. There's going to be some sort of, I'm not saying it's going to be the interference of somebody else. It'll be one of the underhanded tactics that she usually tries to
Right,
use.
being on the ropes or some sort of roll up and holding the pants or something, but just something cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I've got her retaining on this one. However, and y'all stay tuned for the WrestleMania preview coming up in a little over a month or so. And I got a feeling that they're going to end up running this one back. So I've got Becky Lynch to retain in this one. All right, moving on to our World Heavyweight Championship match. CM Punk defending against Finn Balor. Now, this one right here, Adam Pearce felt like CM Punk was ruining the main event because it was supposed to be the blockbuster match between CM Punk and Roman Reigns, and as of right now, that is still on the books. Should Punk retain his championship? I don't know why I get a strange feeling they're going to, because I have CM Punk retaining. That's my take as far as who I pick. But I get the strange feeling that one of the two world title matches at WrestleMania is going to be a triple threat. It's either going to be, and we'll get on to the men's elimination chamber here in a moment. It's either going to be Sami Zayn worming his way into the WWE title match, or Finn Balor worming his way into the World Heavyweight title match. But I've got Punk retaining here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Punk's going to retain. It'll be a real shame that if they do that to Punk and Roman again, especially since they did the triple threat last year. I hope the triple threat comes from SmackDown. But I think what's going to happen here is somehow or another Dom is going to essentially cost Balor the match, whether it's on accident or on purpose, who knows. But it's going to start the rift we started to see a couple weeks ago within the Judgment Day with Liv and Raquel. That's going to continue through Mania. And I think finally at Mania, you're going to kind of see the official split of the Judgment Day. I know this is kind of the second version reincarnate from what Edge, Rhea, and Damian originally started, and we've gotten here. But I think it's finally coming to a head. I think you'll kind of see like Dom, JD, and Raquel go one way, and you'll see Liv, Dom, and JD, Finn, and Raquel go one day, and Dom and Liv and Roxanne go the other direction. But I would hate to see, not because Finn Balor's a bad wrestler or a bad performer. I think he's honestly one of the top guys they have for in the ring. But I think it's a disservice to Punk and Reigns if somehow Balor makes that a triple threat match.
Yeah, because what I want is the blockbuster match, first time ever. Reigns one.
And I understand what they're doing storyline wise, saying, "Oh my God," So you got to sell it like he's got a chance to lose. But I think you and I both know whether it's Judgment Day or clean, Punk is keeping the title on Saturday.
Yeah, he's walking out with the championship. And you know, now that you explain that, I can actually see a scenario. Now, how about this? I can actually see a scenario where, and I think I'm going to stick by my original pick and say the WWE title match is going to be the one that's going to end up being a triple threat. But what I can see is Dom coming out there and costing Balor the match, and then you'll see the split, but you're going to see just him split from Judgment Day. Then Finn Balor will say, well, you know what? How about this? Last year at WrestleMania, you sneaked up and you pinned me to win the Intercontinental Championship. How about putting that belt against the line on me at the same event?
Yeah, and that's when I think we'll finally see Demon Balor again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that right there. But needless to say, we got Punk retaining the championship on this one. I know they kind of had to give him something to do because he's in his hometown. If it were anywhere else, he'd be defending the championship. He wouldn't be doing it.
No, and I don't know if it's even the main event. If it was the main event, I said you'll at least get Roman coming out after the match to make some sort of statement to Punk, to get the rest of this rivalry rolling, especially since Roman's booked for basically every Raw after Elimination Chamber. But I don't even think it's going to main event the show.
Yeah. I think that this match may end up closing the show. The men's Elimination Chamber match. So far we've got Orton, Knight, Rhodes, Evans, Williams, and one last entrant. Who do you think that last entrant is going to be, and who do you have to?
Is there a qualifying match they've announced tonight? Or they haven't announced one yet. But while you're looking at that, so I'm with you. But I'm actually thinking it's going to be a fatal 4-way at Mania. Zayn is going to be wiggling his way in there. Rhodes and Fatu will be in there. So I'm obviously going to pick Rhodes to win this Elimination Chamber. But I think because of the involvement with Fatu, McIntyre, Rhodes, and now Sammy, and even Drew being involved in that and trying to get in Sammy's head, I think we're looking at a fatal 4-way for the title.
Yeah. Okay. And so, and then also tonight we should see who Liv Morgan is going to pick. In which, you know what? After that last segment last week,
they did announce she's going
to.
We talked about it last week that she had to announce before the Chamber, because if not, the Chamber just doesn't weigh the same.
It doesn't weigh the same, exactly. So, but also after that segment we saw where Vaquer kind of made Liv cry and everything, she's gonna pick Vaquer. It's all but done at this point. She's gonna pick Stephanie Vaquer.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so here we go. On Raw tonight, the men's Elimination Chamber qualifying match is going to be Bronson Reed, Jey Uso, and the original El Grande Americano.
So I think obviously we're going to have Masked Man interference on Reed. So I think we may see Uso advance to the Chamber here.
Okay then. And you know what? But Jey Uso was originally in a qualifying match, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I think didn't Damian Priest also get 2 qualifying shots on SmackDown? So he won't be the first one to get a second opportunity or a last chance qualifying match.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So, and then as far as you said you got Rhodes.
I've got Rhodes pulling it off somehow or another, because like I said, I think we've got a fatal 4-way coming in Mania.
Huh? Okay, interesting. But if there's a fatal 4-way, okay then. And who'd you have as the 4th entrant other than Zayn?
Fatu, Rhodes, McIntyre, and Zayn.
Fatu, okay. Interesting. Okay then. There had to be a series of events that happened, and we got plenty of time before WrestleMania, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I just don't foresee WrestleMania being 2 one-on-one world title matches. And I think it's the WWE title match that's going to be either a triple threat or a fatal 4-way, like you said.
Yeah, it just, based on the storyline, it makes more sense. Like I said, it would be a real shame to all of a sudden surprise us all and Balor lost because we didn't see his foot was under the rope and now he's got claim to a rematch. Like, it would just be horrible.
Yeah, understandable on that one. So, Women Elimination Chamber. We got Stratton, Ripley, Bliss, Asuka. The surprise win from Kiana James last week And the last entrant now, I'm pretty sure that the last entrant they're gonna have the last qualifying match on SmackDown. But who do you think the last entrant will be, and who you got to win?
Um, I'm not sure about the last entry, but I think Rhea is going to come out on top here and eventually go on to face Jade here. I think a lot of people want to see that match. Um, and I think Alexa and Charlotte are gonna. I think we're quietly been planting little bird seeds that there's gonna be a split coming here between the two of them. And I don't know if she'll purposely somehow get involved in the chamber if the door is open again, like last time when Naomi got attacked. But I think somehow Charlotte will end up, distracting Alexa or costing Alexa her spot, her getting pinned in the chamber, which will lead to their match at WrestleMania.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm gonna see. You know what? I think that it might be Tiffy time again. I think they're gonna go for a rematch between her and Jade Cargill. Rhea Ripley's tied up in the tag team championships right now. That's not sitting here saying that she couldn't handle both. There's just too much firepower in her and Io Sky right now as a team for her to, handle both the singles competition and the tag team championship. So,
well, I always kind of look at what they did with Cody 2 years ago. She could do the tag match night 1 and do her title match night 2.
True, but what I was alluding to was, what if she were to win the WWE Championship, right?
Yeah, and then I think eventually, way down the line, obviously, I think you'll see Rhea go back to a heel, and it sets up for a huge match between her and Io, obviously. But you're talking years that I think before you see them kind of not be friends on screen.
Right. Okay. I mean, they're just, like I said, they're too much of a firepower right now. They're arguably they're the champions, but they're arguably the best tag team, like in the tag.
The only thing that worries me
division.
about that is we seem to switch the tag team titles every couple of months without a lot of reason. So it does worry me that anybody, even on the men's side, we do the same thing.
Yeah. There has to be more put into the tag division than there has been. The worst thing you want to do is treat those titles as an afterthought.
Right, because and we've seen it before where, like, say Rhea wins this and she's going towards WrestleMania and they've got a tag title match beforehand and her competitor comes out, costs them the titles.
Right. Yeah. Good old attitude era days. But we're gonna move on to our next segment, and it's Sean's segment. This is Sean Russey's Enter the Vault. So, Sean, take it away with the first one.
Yeah, so we'll start with a match from No Way Out. It was actually a rematch from WrestleMania 18. Hogan and The Rock. Hogan had actually gone back to the red and yellow. I believe this was his first official match in the red and yellows after WrestleMania 18. Also on that card, though, a returning Stone Cold who had walked out on the company famously for not wanting to do the work with Brock Lesnar. And he actually defeated Eric Bischoff on this card, which as a return match is kind of like, at least he's back. But to face Eric Bischoff kind of took some of the luster off of it.
Okay. This actually was a pretty stacked pay-per-view. As I go back and look at the results, we had Mysterio defeat Jamie Noble, Chris Jericho beat Jeff Hardy by submission, William Regal and Lance Storm retaining titles against Kane and RVD, Matt Hardy beat Billy Kidman for the Cruiserweight Championship, The Undertaker beat Big Show, Triple H retained the World Heavyweight title against Scott Steiner, and then also, in what I thought was the best match on the card, Brock Lesnar and Chris Benoit defeated Team Angle. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Edge was supposed to be in that match, but he got injured.
Yeah, and we'll have to look at it another time when Jacob is with us. I really think, other than like Benoit and a couple others, I know Booker T held it. It really seemed like Vince did all he could to kind of push the WCW guys to a certain point. And then even if it made sense for them to go over, especially if it was going to be over Triple H, it wasn't going to happen. I think Steiner should have carried that title for a while. I think he should have dropped Triple H that night. But, I don't think Vince was letting his son-in-law lose that night.
I agree. But the funky part about that though is they had a world title match at the Royal Rumble. In fact, Steiner beat the shit out of Triple H.
Yeah, and it's again, it seemed like WCW guys got quick short runs if they got there, or like Sting, like he never got a win. Like what were we doing?
He never got the big win. Yeah, well, he never got a win. Yeah, so. But it all's well ends well though. This actually, and I'll go as far as saying before we move on that if you look at whenever you get the chance, okay, everybody at home, go take a look at all of 2003 in pay per view for WWE. That was one of the better years for pay per views for WWE. Seriously, look at
Yeah.
every pay per view and every match card, every single
No,
one
and
of them.
a lot of people said like, oh well, because they didn't have a lot of the higher main event WCW guys come over right away, but the mid carders worked and they worked their asses off, and it made the card work.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, even look at what was it? Backlash 2003. That's one of my favorite backlashes of all time. Then you look at WrestleMania 19. That's on my top 5 WrestleManias ever. You look at Survivor Series 2003. That's in my top 5 Survivor Series. SummerSlam '03 had the first ever Elimination Chamber. That's the title of tonight's
Yep.
show.
Yep. No, and that was the year Michaels had returned. They had a big year that year.
They had a huge year, man. But yeah, we'll go on to our next one. Sean, take it away.
Yeah, so February 22nd, 2000, we had the hardcore title around for a little bit. Crash Holly actually wins the hardcore title on this night and announces he'll literally defend it anywhere, which unfortunately kind of diminished the title because then we just had wild places and pins happening, and women and referees and celebrities and anybody you could think of pretty much held the title for at least 30 seconds. But it was interesting at the time. It added another layer to what they were doing, in terms of, you had Val Venus on the show. You had a little bit of everything on the show, but it definitely diminished how they had built up the hardcore title. And then all of a sudden it just kind of became the jobbers division.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were some fun moments, but I'd never been a fan of the 24/7 rule. When they brought back when they introduced the 24/7 championship, and that's what they based that off of, was this exact segment right here,
Yep.
a topic. The fan of it at all, not one bit. And I think that WWE really missed the mark when they could have rebranded the championship the first ever WWE television championship.
Yeah. If you're gonna defend it, and you just say, hey, it's gonna be defended on every show, do the same thing WCW used to do. These are timed 15-minute matches. If you don't beat the guy in 15 minutes, he retains his TV title.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, and this is why, pretty much wherever you go, if you think about it, whether it's ECW or WCW, and pretty much those are your, known too, the television championship is one of the best like mid-card titles, because literally you defend it anywhere. It's on television. If it's televised, dude, I don't care if it was a WCW Saturday night, in which we may get lucky and see Booker T defend his TV title back in '98. If it was a Nitro, if it was a Thunder, if it was a pay-per-view, if it's on television, it gets defended. So I mean, shoot.
No, and it's the only title that makes sense to do that with, in terms of doing it on a show-by-show basis, because like we talked about, doing it with like the United States Championship takes so much away from the weight and the history of that title. You do it with a title that's always been defended, because it's the one title that gets defended every week. It makes more sense.
It makes more sense, exactly. All right, on to our next one. We're going to go to Brawl 99.
Yeah, so February 21st at Super Brawl, we have the Outsiders still in WCW at the time. This is actually their third straight year at Super Brawl with a tag team title match. They would lose their first year in '97 versus Luger and the Giant. They would win their second one in '98, defeating the Steiners for the titles. And then in the third one, which this made no sense to me, they faced Conan, who had recently been, kicked out of the NWO. And then Ray in a hair versus mask match, and I believe it was Scott Hall's hair was on the line. And of course, Conan and Ray lost the match, and Ray had to take his mask off, and then we had Hip Hop Ray Mysterio for 6 months.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's why I was so glad that when Mysterio finally signed to WWE, they had him come back with the mask. It was WWE's way of saying, dude, we respect your tradition and you never damn thing in a place, you know?
Yeah, no,
Um,
and the fact that he was willing to do it just shows that even with the company in shambles, he was willing to be the guy and be like, okay, fine, you're asking me to do this, fine.
fine, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It was I I I, I couldn't remember neither whose hair was on the line. I thought it was Nash's. I just find it ironic that years later in TNA he would lose a hair versus hair match.
Yeah, and either
Anyway,
way, it's kind of like what Jacob says. Like, you look at Conan and Ray. I mean, in Conan, yeah, a little bit, he's a little bit bigger and could work a little bit differently, but really they were known for facing cruiserweights and that middle division. Then you put them in a match with the outsiders, and it's like you don't really expect Hall and Nash to sell for these two.
yeah, yeah, very true. And so, with that being said, our very last one, and Raw's on the air right now, so we'll get through this one. Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so February 21st, 2011, and this has got to be one of the most iconic promos. And one of the reasons iconic is because Triple H and Undertaker, neither of them said nothing, and everybody kind of understood that meant they were going to face each other at WrestleMania after the Undertaker had recently retired Shawn Michaels, and it was also the first night they had both returned. Neither of them was in the Rumble. They had been out, I think, both 2 to 3 months at least each. I think Undertaker longer. I think Triple H had gotten hurt that December. So his return was a little less lengthy, but both of them returned the same night in the same segment. And then the next thing you know is the two of them are in a rivalry.
You know, they say that when it comes to us men in general, we can say a whole lot to each other without saying a word. And this segment right here was living proof. Taker came here, he returns, he gets in the ring, he's about to do his thing with the hat, and then Triple H's music. He returns, everyone's going crazy. They both get in the ring, they stare each other down, they both look at the WrestleMania sign, and then Undertaker looks at Triple H and he hits the knife to throat, and Triple H answers, "Suck it." And it was on from that point on. That was an awesome match at WrestleMania as well. In fact, I had it as the best match of the card.
Yeah, no, I mean, Taker, and between what he did with Michaels and Triple H in that, was it 4 or 5 year span? I mean, all those matches, I think, really stole those shows on consecutive years.
Yes, it's absolutely. And, you figure there's that one, and then there was his one. Well, he had back to back against Michaels, and then he had back to back against Triple H. But all 4 of those years they were fire matches. So, but that is our show, ladies and gentlemen. Raw's Wars on the air right now. Gunther's talking trash about somebody. But follow us on all of our socials, and don't forget sideline-se.com. Check us out. So. Agent himself, I am the sniper, Denzel Snipes. We will see you next week for Elimination Chamber. Later.